I've been in Taekwondo for 41 years of my life. That's a long time, and it had nothing to do with money. It was just pure love. Before, when we were not so scared about the contamination of the virus wasn't so high, I would train with my kids with some of the instructors that would come and train here in our place. Boxing instructors, taekwondo instructors, Muay Thai instructors. I normally would train with my kids, and then my kids' friends or their cousins, they would join. But basically, how I spend time with my kids is, since they can't go out, they're all under 18. So they can't just, go to the mall or go to the club or whatever. So they just really stay home, and I just find things for them to do. So, and martial arts and training is one of the things that we do together. Basically, if it's on a weekend, I try to spend as much time as I can. Because if it's school days, they're in their computers, and then they have tutors, and then they have all these homeworks that they have to do. So I don't really bother them. Then by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, they have to sleep. On the weekdays, I wake up, I do my routine. I go to the gym, I work out, and then I answer my messages in Viber, in email, in my texts, and then I make phone calls. And then if I have meetings that I have to attend, if it's not so scary, I go and attend face-to-face. If not, it's on Zoom meetings. And then by the time I know it, it's already dinner time. You have to learn to compromise. You have to give and take. Like my kids, they've experienced more things than I have. I think they have a better life than I ever had when I was their age. I tend to spoil kasi people I love, and I tend to spoil people I enjoy being with. I guess happy marriage, you have to learn how to compromise. You can't be always the one that's correct. Your wife can't always be the one that's correct also. So, it's a give and take. And be patient. You have to be patient and try to, not say things you really don't mean when you're angry, and when you're calmed down and you realize you're not as angry, it takes maturity, I think. Everything was a trial, test, trial, but I think the word that you're looking for is compromise. Learn how to compromise. I guess that all came about after the Olympics, after it became bigger and people knew more about it. As I got into the movie industry, I became an actor. Back then, there were really a lot of better fighters than me. I have a lot of seniors who I really respect, who are really good in the combat sport. There was one senior who broke my nose with a spinning back kick, and he's one of my best friends now. Can't do taekwondo and just do nothing because, how will you survive? There's no salary in being a national athlete in taekwondo back then. You win a gold in the SEA Games, there's no prize. And you have to train 7 hours a day. That's a lot of training and sacrifice. I continued fighting for as long as I could. And my dream was really to become the first Filipino fighter to make it to the Olympics. And I was happy that Stephen Fernandez became my teammate. We were the first 2 Filipinos to ever compete in the Olympics. And we also were the first 2 Filipinos to win the Southeast Asian Games and become the Southeast Asian champion for the country. He continued after and became the first Filipino Olympic medalist in the 92 Barcelona Olympics. I had to get into the movie industry, and I was crying because I didn't want. I was reluctant. I couldn't speak Tagalog. I couldn't act. I didn't come from a showbiz family. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But the Korean masters were pushing me and saying that what Bruce Lee did for martial arts and kung fu and blasted it around the world and became known. In fact, that song Kung Fu Fighting is because of Bruce Lee. in the 70s. And we want you to do what Bruce Lee did. But here in the Philippines, we want Taekwondo to be known. The movie industry would be a vehicle to expose your skills and let people see that there's a fighting Filipino who's an expert in Taekwondo. I became popular exposing my Taekwondo skills on screen, and then the World Taekwondo Federation, Asian Taekwondo Union, Philippine Taekwondo Association were working hand in hand and growing and making the sport grow. And I was trying to make the sport popular. Just because I became an actor didn't make me stop. I continued training. Later on, I would go to competitions around the Philippines from Region 1 to 14. I would spend hours and hours in the Coliseum, and people would line up, asking for pictures, autograph, and as much as I could, I would really give 4 or 5 hours. I would accommodate everybody, who wanted a picture with me. I never denied anyone. And all of these were kids back then. They're all probably 30 years old now. In 2017, that's the time that Korea recognized my contributions and propagation of the combat sport and the martial art in the Philippines and around the world. And that's when they awarded me the Man of the Year. And that's when I became the first foreigner and the first Filipino, first non-Korean to ever receive that award. I was really overwhelmed. I couldn't believe. I was so honored. It was a prestigious award, a moment that I didn't think Korea would give me such recognition or put me in their Hall of Fame. I mean, Korea, the birthplace of Taekwondo, recognized my contributions to their sport. I didn't realize when I look back now, I've been in Taekwondo for 41 years of my life. That's a long time, and it had nothing to do with money. It was just pure love. And I think that's how I became eventually the proponent of Taekwondo. I mean, there's so many younger guys who broke my records. Roberto Kitoy Cruz, he's a 5-time world champion, 7-time SEA Games champion. Yet he says, Sermon, you inspired me, you motivated me, you're one of my heroes. That's why I kept winning. A lot of these young great fighters or young instructors, they were inspired by they say, I got into Taekwondo because of you, Sermon. Heartwarming and great feeling to have. In fact, sometimes I get emotional because I'm getting old already. Those who couldn't afford to go to private exclusive schools, we were able to get them scholarships because of their talent and skills. They were able to compete for the country, compete for their schools. Those who couldn't compete for their country at least competed for their schools. They got good education for free. They had allowance because Taekwondo became part of the NCAA, the UAAP, part of the school curriculum. Unlike my time, we didn't have that. LaSalle never gave me a scholarship because I was world champion or anything. And if you want to make Taekwondo your life, with how big Taekwondo is now, I mean, it started with 500,000 practitioners. Now it's up to 10 million practitioners. That's a lot. But probably half of them are grade school kids. So they left. They went to other parts of the world, different parts of United States of America, New Zealand, Australia, some in Europe, some in Canada, a lot actually in Canada also. And I'm happy to hear that they're doing well. And sometimes when I'm abroad and I'm in their country, I try to get in touch with them and meet them. I go to their gyms. Sometimes I give tests in their gyms. I meet their students. I talk about them, and I'm really proud of them that they're doing really well. But a lot lives I've touched have done pretty good. So I'm happy that their life was better from when they first came to and started training under us.